You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Welcome to From Beneath the Hollywood Sign. If you love old movies, Hollywood history, or the golden age of filmmaking, you've come to the right place. This is the podcast that talks about amazing stories of Tinseltown from another era and fascinating conversations with writer-producer Steve Cubine and actress-writer Nan McNamara.
So, Steve, did Ava Gardner and Howard Hughes have a good relationship?
Well, they did until he dislocated her jaw.
What?
Well, don't worry. She hit him back with an ashtray.
From Beneath the Hollywood Sign is the gin joint for you.
Recorded in Chicago, Illinois, with your hosts, Ken, Matt, Neil, and Jeff. This is Triviality. The cream of the crop!
Hello and welcome to Triviality, the game where a lack of seriousness meets a little bit of knowledge. My name is Jeff and I will be your host today. Today we're going to have another three-for-all. Joining me in the studio are Ken and Neil. How you guys doing?
Hello. Good morning.
And our special guest via Skype is Dan Lumberg. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing today?
Pretty good. Where is Matt again today? Did we have something creative to lie about?
No, Matt's just a workaholic. He's not been doing his skydiving or other extreme sports that he's into. So
Maybe next time.
He's actually got to work to pay the bills this time.
Makes a lot of sense.
So, Dan, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what your interests are, maybe how you got into trivia.
All right. Well, I'm here out in Locust, North Carolina, and I moved here from Minneapolis, which is where my heart is. I'm a big-time Minnesota sports fan, which is just really tough to be sometimes. But that's okay. I'm learning to live with it. I manage a school-age childcare out here. I don't really get to talk about that all that much, but it's rewarding. It's fun. It's a job. So my real interest lies in tabletop gaming. I know you have quite a few listeners that can relate to that, but I'm working on a lot of stuff with that. I've got a blog that I do. I'm on Facebook for tabletop game reviews, Twitter and Instagram, all that fun stuff. So it's if you ever look for Trivia Geek, that's me.
So as far as tabletop games, Jeff and Ken play them quite often. I haven't really gotten into them. They do interest me a little bit. I recently played a game called Machi Koro, which I really liked.
Yes, very good game.
So as far as a novice like me and anyone else who's listening who aren't into tabletop games or haven't gotten into them yet, what would be your number one or a few selections of games to get someone into the world?
You know what? Really, if you look at the list of the winners of the Spiel des Jahres, the German Game of the Year, if you look at that list and look at any of the recent winners, any one of them is a great starting point.
Yeah, last night I went took a little road trip down to Bloomington to visit our old friends Bones and Anna, and we actually played a game called Lunacy from the makers of Flux. And I don't know if it was amazing, but we were screaming our heads off, so I think it was a pretty good game.
All right, so we will break down the rules really quick for you, as always, with our standard format. 20 questions and a variety of topics worth 10 points apiece, split into 2 rounds. At halftime, there is a special swing round designed by me, where players can rack up extra points. And at the end of regulation, we will enter the final round, where players can wager 0 to 30 on 5 categorized questions and determine who will be the cream of the crop.
I am the cream, yeah.
You guys ready to get started?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Perfect. On to question 1. This band, with hits including West End Girls, was once asked by PETA to change their name to Rescue Shelter Boys.
Is that true? That's insane.
A lot of the questions in today's game are not super hard, but they're more things I found interesting that I wanted to write questions about.
That's good.
So.
I'm very tired and worn out today. So,
everybody in?
Yeah, I got mine in. Yep.
All right. I'll start with you, Dan.
That would be the Pet Shop Boys.
Ken?
Yeah, that's what I had too.
And Neil?
Yeah, I thought it was Pet Shop Boys, and luckily I got a free month of Sirius, and the woman with the really gravelly voice on 80s on 8 was like, and that was from the Pet Shop Boys. And I was like, and that's how I got it. That was yesterday.
That's an incredible Nina Blackwood you just did there.
Nina Blackwood, yeah, thank you.
Question 2. This team holds the all-time worst 82-game record in the NBA, going 9-73 in the 1973 season.
How many times am I going to hear this question and still not know it?
I'm going to write down a bad answer. Bad guess.
I'm trying to steer away from that normal answer that I do, and hopefully I'm right this time.
I mean, if you have a guess that's an NBA team, it's not a bad guess.
This is an NBA team, I'm fairly certain.
All right.
All right.
Oh, me and Neil with the same guess, it looks like.
Oh, really?
Neil and Ken both guessing on this one. Dan also seemed like he might have been taking a guess. But I'm seeing in studio Neil and Ken with the same guess. So which one of you wants to kick this off? How about Ken?
I went with the Pistons.
Yeah, I went Detroit Pistons for no other reason than I just said it.
Been copying off my sheet.
Yeah.
Dan, what'd you think on this one?
Here in Charlotte just a couple of years ago, the Bobcats actually broke this record, but it wasn't an 82-game season. But they did have the worst losing percentage. But you'd think I'd remember the name of the team that they had beaten, but I can't. So I wrote down the 76ers.
It is the Philadelphia 76ers.
That was the one that I was like...
Oh, man. I'll take that.
Yep, you were the only one getting points awarded on that. So,
good job.
Question 3. Thomas Edison once said of this fellow inventor, he had no hobby, cared for no amusement of any kind, and lived in utter disregard for the most elementary rules of hygiene. Maybe he was just jealous as he stole most of his ideas.
Yep, I'm in.
Yeah, I'm in on that.
I'm in.
All right, Neil?
That would be Elon Musk. I'm just kidding. I put Tesla.
I bet Elon Musk smells nice.
He has a nice musk.
Yeah. I also went Tesla.
And Dan?
I have Nikola Tesla.
All right. Points all around.
I wonder if people have written about Elon's Musk.
There has to be something on that.
That's just the perfect title for like a nice op-ed article about how he smells.
I was thinking this was more of like
a title for a podcast episode.
Oh, possibly.
Question 4. Give me the 2 writers of the screenplay for the 1968 film 2001: A Space Odyssey.
The 2 screenwriters.
Well, there's only 2 people I could think of it being, so I'm not going to think about it too hard. Because if it's not who I think it is, that's a very hard question. But if it is who I'm thinking it is, then it makes sense. So
I don't know. Dan, are you in?
Yeah, let's call me in.
All right. So what I'm thinking is one of them's Kubrick. I think the other one is probably the guy who wrote the book, though I don't know if the time period is correct. I can't remember the guy's name who wrote the book. I think I'm wrong, but I'm in.
Let's start with Dan.
All right, I did say Kubrick, and I was throwing around a whole bunch of different names, and Douglas Adams and Isaac Asimov kept jumping in there, and I knew neither one of them was right, but I think I finally settled on Clark.
Okay.
That's it.
Ken?
I think you got it. I went with Kubrick and Wells.
Neil?
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I knew Kubrick had written part of it, so I just went Kubrick and Arthur C. Clarke.
I think they're right.
They are right. Stanley Kubrick and Arthur C. Clarke.
I was trying to come up with that author's name, and I just I couldn't come up with that, so I went with H.G. Wells, but I thought that was right.
I wasn't sure if you were tricking us, so that's why I was like, unless it's someone I don't know.
It's one pretty commonly associated with Kubrick, so, I mean, if you don't know the original source material, Arthur C. Clarke is one in a couple that you might have guessed, so that's why I went both on that one. Mm-hmm. On to question 5, which is one of our listener-submitted questions. This one coming today from David Raffetto, fan of the show. Thanks again, David.
He's keeping us afloat with the question 5s right now, so thanks, David.
Although we've had a recent influx, so thank you very much for those people sending those in. We do appreciate it. Keep them coming.
Great. Thanks, guys.
What is the longest nerve in the human body? It runs from the lower spinal column to the foot.
I'm in.
Me too. Spelling aside.
Spelling aside.
I'm gonna need a second.
Sure.
No worries.
It's got to be there. But all right, I'm writing something down and locking it in. I don't know if it's right, but.
Or what'd you say for that one, Dan?
I said it's the sciatic.
Yeah,
Ken?
I think when I hear people kind of complaining about pain it kind of affects their ability to walk. It's the sciatic, so I went with sciatic.
Neil?
I have a lot of connection to this personally, and I know it as the sciatic nerve.
It is the sciatic nerve. Well done, gentlemen. On to question 6. This actor may have been a real Fredo, but every motion picture he starred in was nominated for an Academy Award.
I got something written down.
So I'd imagine he doesn't have a huge filmography.
Oh, Deer Hunter, Godfather.
Are you trying to mess me up?
No, that's real.
No.
I just know it's not going to help you.
He is not.
Oh, he's like
You either know this guy's
like
name or you don't
character
know this guy's
actor.
name. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
he's a character actor, yeah. I know him. I've seen him in everything he's done. I cannot think of his name right now.
All right, Neil. What did you say?
John Milius.
I went with Dominic DeCoco.
And what'd you say, Dan?
I think it's John Cazale.
Yes, it is John. I have Cazale, but yeah, I know what you mean. Question 7. Anatolia is the name for the peninsula which comprises the majority of what country?
All right, I'm going to write down a guess. I've never heard of this before.
All right, so geography, obviously not my strong suit. Immediately, 3 countries popped into my head, which I'm going to write down and I'll circle one. Greece, Turkey for some reason, and then Russia. Anatolia sounds like something a Russian tough would tell someone, like, get the bag back to Anatolia. So I think I'm between Greece and Russia. Greece was my gut, but just for the fact that I did the impression, I'm just going to have to commit to it. I'm just going to circle Russia.
I still have Italy on the mind from the last question with the Godfather reference, so I just went Italy.
What do you think, Dan?
I also said Italy. I've never heard of Anatolia before. I'm pretty good at geography too, but that never heard of that one.
Okay, so it was mentioned by one of you. The Greek is the Peloponnesian Peninsula.
Yeah.
And the Turkish Peninsula, also known as Anatolia.
Huh.
Man,
That's interesting. I will put that one to memory.
I must have heard it somewhere. That's the only reason I thought of Turkey. I was like, oh, maybe that could be Turkish.
Yeah, no, it is Turkey. So also known previously as Asia Minor before it was many other things, and now present-day Turkey. The majority of the country lies on that westernmost jutting out of Asia. So, gotcha. Right. Question 8. In 2011, Super Bowl 45 featured which 2 teams?
No.
But did not feature any cheerleaders, as neither team has them. For the record, this is also the only Super Bowl that had no cheerleaders, just as an interesting side note.
Of all time?
Yes. Yeah. There's never been any other matchup that had 2 teams that both don't have them. So.
I wouldn't even know which ones don't have cheerleaders.
There's a few. There's only a handful.
The Bears do.
The Bears do not.
But I know they haven't been in a Super Bowl since, 2006 or 7?
So immediately my gut was thinking Patriots Giants because they faced off twice, the only team to beat Tom Brady. I feel like the Patriots would have cheerleaders just because they're the Patriots, and although the Giants do play in colder climates, so that's sort of where I'm going to land if I can't come up with it. There's also a game that I'm thinking of. I remember being at a house watching it. It's when Bruce Springsteen was the halftime show, and he did his knee slide with his crotch right into the camera. And I know it was the Cardinals, and I cannot think of who they were playing, but I feel like the Cardinals have cheerleaders. So I'm just going to go with Giants and Patriots because it's the only one I can think of that might, I don't know, it happened twice, so I'm just going with the odds here.
Oddly enough, I also went Giants and Patriots.
What did you think on this one, Dan?
Oh, this was a very painful time for me as a Vikings fan. It was the Steelers and Packers.
Yeah, it was the Green Bay Packers, Pittsburgh Steelers. That was the only time Aaron Rodgers won, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
One too many times, if you ask me.
That was that one. Okay.
Yeah, it was that one. Question 9. Keiko was the name of the animal which portrayed the title character in this 1993 family drama.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to be in.
Yeah, I'm in too.
Okay, I'm in.
What'd you say on this one, Dan?
I went with that 1993 classic Turner and Hooch.
Not bad. I get where you're coming from on that. What'd you say, Ken?
I went with the only movie that Michael Madsen plays the good guy in, and that would be Free Willy.
Ooh,
Neil?
I like that.
So after thinking it over, for some reason, I was thinking originally when the question was asked that it was a person, not an animal. But then when I realized in my head it was an animal, my best guess was Free Willy, which was a big deal in the early 90s.
So
that
yes,
makes a lot of sense.
very very famously, not a male orca playing this character. Keiko was the name of the whale in Free Willy.
I'd love a Free Willy Kill Bill crossover. That whale deserves his revenge, and we deserve to die.
I knew if I said Michael Madsen, it would be immediately obvious to either of you. So, as fans of Michael Madsen's work, but yeah, the only one where he plays sort of the good guy. It's gonna be a tabletop game question, so you should have fun with this. Question 10. This 2004 Spiel des Jahres winner, which has its players be U.S. railroad barons, shares its name with a Beatles song, which John Lennon said describes cards indicating a clean bill of health carried by Hamburg prostitutes in the 1960s.
Neil, were you paying attention at the beginning of the episode?
I was.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure Dan knows the answer to this. What'd you say, Dan?
Oh yeah, I think you all know the answer to this one now.
So what do you have?
I've got Ticket to Ride.
Yep, I also put Ticket to Ride.
Thanks to some new tabletop game knowledge I learned, I put Ticket to Ride.
though honestly, I think we would have had it regardless.
Yeah, I would have gotten that one. Yeah, without
Yeah. So after round 1, we have Ken in third place with 50 points, Neil second place with 60, and Dan in the lead with 80 points. I went with a movie before and after half point today. So I'm going to give you 2 movie hints, and you have to put them together into a before and after movie title.
Gotcha.
So
How many?
10 of them?
10 and 5 points apiece?
I think 5 points apiece sounds good. Number 1. A family adopts a mouse as a second son while Abigail Breslin competes in a beauty pageant. Number 2. Judge Reinhold fantasizes about a bare-chested Phoebe Cates while John Cusack and Jack Black hang out in a record store mocking customers. Number 3. Robert De Niro boxes. A veteran catcher mentors a prospect in the minor leagues. Number 4. Sean Connery goes rogue in a state-of-the-art Soviet submarine as a poor coal miner's son plays with rockets in the 1950s. Number 5. President Harrison Ford's plane gets hijacked while Jack Nicholson spends time in a mental institution. Question 6. FBI agent Martin Lawrence wears a fat suit and women's clothing while Paris Hilton's head is impaled by a pole. Number 7. Resistance of teenagers defends America from a Soviet invasion while several strangers take refuge from zombies in a shopping mall. Question 8. 3 men in their 30s try to relive their college days by starting a fraternity, and Jack Black teaches contemporary music to kids. Question 9. An astronaut crew lands on Mars and gets attacked by insects. 2,000 years in the future, gorillas and chimpanzees have taken over the Earth. And number 10. Lindsay Lohan swaps bodies with her mom as Billy Bob Thornton coaches high school football in Texas.
All right, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Same.
All right, and we'll start with the first one for you, Dan. What did you say?
I had Stuart Little Miss Sunshine.
Ken?
Same here.
Neil?
Same here.
All right. Stuart Little Miss Sunshine. Number 2. What'd you say, Neil?
Fast Times at Ridgemont High Fidelity.
Same
Ken?
here.
And Dan?
Yep, that's what I had too.
Maybe I went a little too easy on this one. Number 3. Robert De Niro boxes. A veteran catcher mentors a prospect in the minor leagues. What'd you say, Ken?
Raging Bull Durham.
Dan?
That's what I've got too. Raging Bull Durham.
Neil?
Same thing.
Oh, wow.
A little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And the fourth one? What'd you say, Dan?
Hunt for Red October Sky.
Neil?
Same here.
I put Hunt for Red September Sky. No, Red October Sky, yeah.
Great.
Good callback.
Yep, I thought that was a nice one. Question 5. What'd you say, Ken?
Air Force One flew over the cuckoo's nest.
Neil?
Same.
And Dan?
Yep, Air Force One flew over the cuckoo's nest.
All right. So far, a clean sweep on this one. One that I thought was going to be a little harder.
This one might be a separator. I think Neil probably has it.
What did you say for number 6, Ken?
Big Mama's House of Wax.
Dan?
I eventually settled on Big Mama's House of Wax. It took a little bit.
And Neil?
Big Mama's House of Wax.
Shame on you, though, for going with the Paris Hilton version and not the original
Vincent Price.
Vincent Price.
Yeah, shame on me. I thought it was funnier. And number 7. What'd you say, Dan?
I've got Red Dawn of the Living Dead.
And Ken?
I think it's just Red Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Neil?
Red Dawn of the Dead.
It is just
Yep.
Red Dawn of the Dead. Question 8. One of my favorite pairings, as I like both films a lot. What'd you say, Ken?
You're my boy Blue, Old School of Rock.
And Dan?
Old School of Rock.
Neil?
We're going streaking. Old School of Rock.
Okay. Number 9. Also, maybe a little bit of a separator here. We'll see. What did you say, Ken?
Yeah, I was trying to remember some Mars movies. 2 really come to mind, which is Mission to Mars and Red Planet. So I went with Red Planet of the Apes.
Dan?
That's what I've got, Red Planet of the Apes.
Neil?
Same here.
Sorry, I wrote a boring round. And number 10, what'd you say, Dan?
I've got Freaky Friday Night Lights,
Ken?
which would be a great movie in and of itself.
Yeah, same here. Maybe one of the players could switch with the coach.
Neil?
Yeah, I also went with Freaky Friday Night Lights.
Oh, wow. All right. So a bunch of points will be piled on here. So Neil and Ken both adding 50 points to their scores, and Dan will add an additional 45, bringing his total to 125. Neil will go up to 110, and Ken will go to an even 100.
Cool. That was a good round.
Yeah, that was fun.
If I could just remember basic horror genre names, that'd been just fine there. But
No,
add that superfluous living in there.
those kind of blend into each other after a while. He made so many of them, so.
And I'm not a zombie movie guy at all. I've never seen any of them, so just I had to go on just what I knew.
Dawn of the Dead would be the one to watch, I would say.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, you were there. You were right there. You were close.
On to round 2. Question 1. This baseball player, who played for both the White Sox and Mets, was the only MLB player to lead the league in hits in both the AL and NL.
Okay, I'm in.
Do you actually know this one?
Hell no.
So White Sox and Mets, league leader in hits. Okay.
I will tell you he did it in back-to-back years for those teams, though, in that order. So he did it for 1 year for the White Sox, next year for the Mets.
Let me put in a real answer.
Oh, was it Rusty again?
Our old friend Rusty Coots.
Rusty Coots.
All right, I have a real answer now.
Things that neither one of those teams are known for having big hit guys. That's
That's what's throwing me up here. All right, I'm in with an answer that is certainly incorrect, but this is a hard one.
all right. I'm just gonna write a name down, which isn't right.
All right, everybody's in.
Fair enough. So what did you say, Neil?
So the only Met I could think of, which is bad, is Mike Piazza, but I didn't go with him. I just figured maybe it's someone from a long time ago, so I just put Shoeless Joe Jackson.
Mickey Mantle for me.
And
See,
what'd you say, Dan?
The Mets are relatively new. So I just went with the one name I wanted to say, which was Mookie Wilson.
So surprisingly, the player to do this in back-to-back years, I believe it was either 95, 96 or 96, 97,
Mickey Mantle.
was Lance Johnson.
Lance Johnson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, a very forgettable name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know if I've heard of him.
Question 2. This Syrian city is the oldest continuously inhabited one on Earth.
There's no way I could get this geographically, so I have to go to the news to pull some Syrian names out, which is unfortunate.
We just had this question, and I committed it to memory, and that was like a month and a half or something, a month and a half ago. And of course, when I need it, it is not presenting itself.
Okay, I'm in.
Seems like Dan has it too.
Yeah, I'm in. Yeah.
All right.
I'm just gonna say Antiope. I know that's not right, but it's for some reason it's like juggling around in there with that name.
Okay.
And what did you think on that one, Ken?
I had two cities in my head. One I know is in Syria. One I wasn't sure if it's in Syria. But Gary Johnson famously said during the election, "What is Aleppo?" And that's the one I know.
His Aleppo moment.
That's the one I know is in Syria. I did go with Raqqa though. I don't know if that's in Syria for sure. I felt like it wasn't Aleppo for some reason, but Raqqa.
And what did you say for that one, Dan?
The home city of Paul, Damascus.
It would in fact be Damascus.
Oh, that makes it's a lot easier than
Damascus.
than I made it out to be.
We had a Damascus question, right?
I don't know.
Probably. There's always a Damascus
that
question.
one comes up. That one comes up quite a bit.
Yeah, that one's one that's out in the ether, but we haven't asked. So
Yeah, I
Been
guess I
stewing
didn't
with
know that Damascus was in Syria. Okay,
so
Capital.
they're still learning.
I know. I'm still working on my geography here. Should have thought of Assassin's Creed 1.
Yeah, I was going to make an Assassin's Creed reference here, but all right. Well, on to...
Sorry, I was just going to say Damascus for forgiveness for that terrible poll of Antiope. Okay.
On to more painful things for the gentleman in the studio. Question 3. Name one of the two teams that have never been to a World Series.
By team, do you mean
Current MLB team.
current team
Yeah.
or incarnation of?
Current MLB team.
Okay, one of the two?
One of the two.
All right, I'm in with it.
I have a guess.
I'm just trying to remember who the Expos turned into, because they would have gone that one year that we had the strike, or they were poised to go. I don't even know if that's right. Oh, I think that was the Expos. Okay, I'm in.
All right, everyone's in. What'd you say, Dan?
The Washington Nationals.
Ken?
I went with the Twins.
Neil?
Washington Nationals.
So two of you hit on one of them. The other one would be, does anybody know?
No, I have no idea.
The
If I knew.
Mariners?
It would be the Seattle Mariners. Yep. Yeah, they
Twins were there in 87 and 91 and won both of them. And they,
I recall.
were also there in 65.
Was that one of my favorite players from the Twins was Kirby Puckett? Was that?
Oh, yeah.
That was his
He was
team?
on
Okay.
both those teams. Yep.
I used to love him, yeah.
So, yep, points going to Neil and Dan on that one. Number 4. This tabletop game, which has players assuming the role of colonial governors, is named for the largest island in the United States to not be contained within a state.
I'm in.
Okay.
I'm in.
I don't know if it's right, but okay, I'm in.
So I think I'm under the impression that Dan might have this one for some reason. So what did you say, Dan?
It's Puerto Rico.
What did you say, Ken?
I just went with Settlers 10.
Neil?
Oh, Puerto Rico would make sense. I put Manhattan Juncture.
So it turns out is the third largest island in the United States. The game is Puerto Rico. So yeah, I also don't have it, but pretty fun. So
I've never heard of it.
I would check it out.
It's a game of pure skill. If you play it, there's very little luck involved at all.
Interesting.
So yeah, the two larger islands in the United States are the Big Island of Hawaii, and Kodiak Island in Alaska. So, and then you have to go all the way down to 32 is the next one to not be found within a state. That would be the U.S. territory of Guam. Question 5, another one of our listener submitted questions. This one by Adam Abbasi. So thanks, Adam. According to the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, the average lifespan of a piece of currency depends on denomination. Within 3 months, how long is a $1 note in circulation? What's funny about this, and I will thank Adam for that, is as somebody who knows these figures or did know these figures, I couldn't remember offhand, so I was pretty pleased with this question.
I'm in on a guess.
I think I've got a guess. Yeah, we'll call it. We'll call it.
And Neil,
Good.
how you feeling?
I have a guess, yeah.
Okay. Well, why don't we start with you, Neil? What'd you say?
I said 14 months.
What were you thinking on this one, Ken?
I went 3 years, 6 months.
Okay. And Dan, what were your thoughts?
I said 15 months.
So you're all just outside of it. It is 21 months, so acceptable range would be 18 to 24 months. That's how long the average dollar bill actually stays in circulation.
I was going to say 2 years, but I didn't. I don't know why.
Question 6. The first iteration of this machine was actually deemed a failure, as its customers were primarily prostitutes and gamblers looking to capitalize on no longer having to deal with human beings face to face.
Okay, I'm in.
I've got a guess.
I realize now that this is the second question I've written with prostitution in it, so don't know where my mind was when I wrote this.
We've got a theme.
Gamblers and prostitutes. So my two answers, one would be a funny way of saying that if they use this machine, they would not be a gambler. I'm between cigarette machine and coin-operated condom machine dispenser. I'm in.
Okay. What did you put for an answer, Neil?
Just cigarette machine.
And Ken?
Yeah, I went with vending machine, though I do think the first vending machines were for cigarettes.
What were you thinking on this one, Dan?
I went a completely different way. I said an ATM.
Yeah. What? No longer having to face tellers shamefully. It was the ATM.
Man,
This round, I'm just dying a slow death.
I got a lot of dashes through my score boxes.
Question 7. How many different political parties have been represented by U.S. presidents while in office? So not how many different parties have run for office, but how many parties have been elected to the highest office.
Okay, I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in.
Okay. What were you thinking on that one, Dan?
I wrote down what I thought were the answers of Republican, Democrat, Democratic, Republican, Federalist, and Whig. So I went 5.
Okay. And Ken, what were you thinking on
I
that?
had the exact same list and went with 5.
And Neil?
I didn't have the list, but I named at least 4 in my head, and I thought there's probably one that I didn't know, so I put 5.
So Republicans, Democrats, Federalists, Democratic Republicans, Whigs.
No,
and,
stop.
And one who was elected under the National Union Party for a total of 6.
Who's that?
Actually, I'm pretty sure that's the one Lincoln ran under his second or his first campaign.
Having a great second round, Dan.
I'm about 50-50 so far.
Yep, I was right with my thought. So Abraham Lincoln and Andrew Johnson were elected under the guise of the National Union Party, the temporary name used by the Republicans between May 21st, 1864 and 1868.
But I thought the Republicans were the party of Lincoln.
Well,
For his second term, I think.
They were for his first term. Question 8. This Chicago Bear holds the record for the most touchdowns scored by a rookie running back with 22.
There's an obvious answer I want to go with, but I don't know if it's the obvious answer.
Yeah, same here. I'm good.
This is all-purpose touchdowns, just for the record, just to clarify.
I'm between 3. One I think is too easy. The other one I feel like is too recent, but he was an all-purpose back. Okay, I think I'm okay. I'm in.
I obviously want to go with Walter Payton, but that just seems like it's too easy.
Mm-hmm.
And
I was struggling with the same dilemma. But then I realized that I don't know anything.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and not go with Walter Payton, and I'm going to kick myself if it's right. If he's right. I'm going to go with Gale Sayers.
Okay. And what did you say on this one, Neil?
So I was in the same line of thinking as Dan. I thought Walter Payton would be too easy. I also even thought of Matt Forte, I think mostly because you said 22 and that was his number, but I know that he also was a receiving back as well as he's just basically an every down back. But a lot of records that they post during the Bears games that I watch every week are people beating Gale Sayers or not beating Gale Sayers, who people kind of overlook because of Walter Payton. So I put Gale Sayers.
What would you say on this one, Ken?
I know 2 running backs for the Bears, Walter Payton and Matt Forte. And there's the guy who kept returning kicks.
Devin Hester.
Devin Hester. I couldn't think of his name. I didn't know if he was a running back or not. I just went with Walter Payton.
So I'm glad to see that you won't be kicking yourself, Dan. Gale Sayers, in his rookie season, led the league by scoring 22 touchdowns, including a record-tying 6 in one game.
Oh, wow.
And he had 2,272 all-purpose yards en route to being recognized that year as NFL's Rookie of the Year.
Devin Hester, running back?
Devin
Hester. He was
a
defensive back.
Yeah.
Yep. And then he became a receiver, and
I don't know what that is. Okay.
That didn't go over all that well.
No, they try to make him do too much. Yeah, Gale Sayers was a beast. They always put up his numbers with Jordan Howard, who's playing really well his first 2 years. But
Yeah, he's playing pretty well.
yeah.
Question 9. 2001 was the release year for the first of what two major movie franchises which have a combined 16 films in their canon?
So I got 2 franchises in mind, and I'm just trying to add them up to 16. And it's not working.
I think I have both. I'm just trying to make sure that there's not another one. I just don't know if it was released. That was the first release date.
Am I missing something?
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to come off of what I've got right now, so I may as well just go ahead and lock it in.
All right, I'm in. I was going to think a little bit more about it, but
You had me worried. I had to double check my math. I'm right.
Am I just like blanking on one of them? Okay, I'm in.
All right, a little hesitant there, but what did you say, Ken? What were your 2 movie franchises?
So Lord of the Rings was definitely 2001. There's 6 Lord of the Rings, 3 Lords and 3 Hobbits. Harry Potter was the other one. I only count 9 Harry Potters because there's 7 books. There was 2 on the last one and Fantastic Beasts, but I come up with 15 total. But that's what I stuck with.
Okay. What were your thoughts on this one, Neil?
I was thinking you were going to go Lord of the Rings for a second, but
now I know what it is.
But I went with Harry Potter and Fast and the Furious.
What were your thoughts on that one, Dan?
Yeah, that's what I went with too. Fast and the Furious and Harry Potter. I have no idea how many Fast and the Furious movies there are because I've not seen one of them.
Yeah, I have Fast and the Furious and Harry Potter. Both made their debuts in 2001. Each one had
7 for
8 films in both of their canons. Fantastic Beasts is not officially part of the Harry Potter canon.
Oh, that's debatable.
7. Well, okay.
This is.
Well, I will say, yeah, each Harry Potter film has the name Harry Potter in it,
Right.
not
little
Fantastic
bit
Beasts.
of
Yeah.
controversy here. Okay, that's fine.
All right, question 10. This is going to be the last question of regulation. This 7'7" former Washington Bullet was both the tallest licensed horse jockey and only known NBA player to kill a lion with a spear.
What?
What kind of insane question is this?
It's the best kind of insane question. I found out these 2 facts about this player, and I was just like, well, that's a question.
Well, you know who I write down for every basketball question.
All right, I'm in.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. What did you say for this one, Ken?
As you know, anytime there's a basketball question I don't know, I just put Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and this is no change.
And Dan, what did you say for this one?
I said that it was Manute Bol, who would also be he also had a hockey career for a few games. Him on skates is crazy.
Oh, I remember Manute Bol. I also put Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as a joke answer.
Funny enough, Manute Bol was known to have killed a lion with a spear, and for one day was licensed as a jockey, which makes him the tallest licensed horse jockey in the United States.
Do you have any note on the lion murder?
On the lion murder?
I'm sure it was commonplace in his home
I mean, that's where he's from, Central Africa.
Okay,
So,
okay.
yeah. So Manute Bol.
I kind of blew that round. I got 0 out of 10, so
Ooh.
my score remains at 100 even.
Yep. And making up second place is Neil with 140 and Dan with a slight commanding lead, 195. All right, so I'm going to announce the final 5 categories. Again, each player can wager 0 to 30 points on every question using the points that they have earned during regulation. Here are your categories. First one is going to be in geography. Second question is in the category of knighthood. Third question is going to be in elements. Fourth question is going to be in vexillology. And the last question is going to be in currency. All right, so all of the wagers are in for the final round, so we will go to the questions. Question 1. Pheasant Island, located on the Bidassoa River, has been co-owned by which 2 nations since 1659? Each inhabits the island for 6 months of the year and hands it back to the other. Question 2 is in knighthoods. Which northern European nation once knighted a penguin? Question 3 in elements. What technical sounding element is the lightest to be radioactive? Question 4 in vexillology. Which sovereign country's flag is the only one to feature a dragon? And question 5 is in currency. What is the smallest denomination of U.S. currency ever minted?
Smallest in size or amount?
Smallest as in dollar amount.
Okay.
I give and I take away, Neil. I did movie questions in the main game,
I know.
so.
I think I'm locked in.
Yeah,
Okay.
I am too. I don't like it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in.
Okay. So the first question was in geography. And with the wagers, we had Neil and Ken just kind of giving up on this one. And Dan went in for 30. So I'll start with you, Dan. Pheasant Island, located on the Bidassoa River, has been co-owned by what two nations since 1659?
When I think of co-owning areas or co-ruling areas, I always go with France and Spain. So I'm going to go France and Spain on that one.
Okay. Ken, what did you say? I know you gave up, but...
Yeah, I wagered 0, so I just went France and Great Britain.
And what was yours, Neil?
I didn't even put 2 countries. I just put Foul Island. So.
So, yeah, you got to think of two nations that kind of have existed without fighting each other for getting on for nearly 400 years now. They co-owned an island in the Caribbean that split to Haiti and the Dominican Republic, but this one that they owned between the two nations of Spain and France.
Nice work.
So well done, Dan. That's a great one. Yeah, I looked into it. I did like a whole research thing into like how they do it. They have like a special ceremony where they literally like hand off the rights to the island to the other nation for 6 months. So, and they've been doing it.
Thinking.
Yeah.
Go ahead, finish, Jeff. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they've been doing it basically without interruption since 1659. They have like, through wars and all the other stuff, they still do the ceremony, which is crazy.
I was thinking that it was like in the Pyrenees Mountains, like near Andorra. And because I know that the ruler of Andorra kind of moves between France and Spain, or it's a co-council with the two of them. So I figured it was somewhere in there.
Yeah,
but...
it's in that region. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Bidassoa runs right on the border. So
okay.
Yeah, instead of having a border dispute, they decided to co-own the island. Question 2 was in knighthood. Neil and Dan surrendering in this round. Ken with 20 points. So what did you say on this one, Ken?
I figured it was one of the Nordic nations, Norway, Sweden, Finland, one of those. I went with Sweden. I've heard this before, but I can't remember which it was, though.
And what did you say from this one, Neil?
I think I wrote a question similar to this or a side fact, and I couldn't remember which one it was, but the one that kept kind of pinging me in my head was Finland, so I went with Finland.
And what was your thought on this one, Dan?
I went with the other one up there. I went with Norway, so...
The Norwegians were the ones who knighted the Penguins, so not getting any points for that, but you do have the correct answer, Dan. All right, on to the question in elements. So Neil giving up on this one too. Not really surprised by that. Dan wagering 10, Ken wagering 20. So what did you say, Ken?
I just went with uranium.
All right. Dan, what was your answer to that one?
I figured you were giving a clue in the answer when you said technical, so I went technetium.
And what was yours, Neil?
That sounds great. I put Honda Element. I'm sorry.
So, yes, much lighter than most of the radioactive elements, technetium is the correct answer. So, Dan, are we getting another 10 on that one?
See, the only way I'm learning about elements is by getting these questions wrong and then feeling bad for myself, and then I remember them. So, I won't forget technetium.
Technetium. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of this show is just trying to educate the other ones to what we don't know. So I'm learning a lot about movies. Neil's learning a lot about science. So it's been pretty good.
I'm learning nothing.
All right. On to my favorite topic. For some who don't know what vexillology is, that's the study of flags. So that's something that I hold near and dear. Ken and Neil tapping out on that. Dan went hard in the paint with 30. So Dan, do you happen to know which country, sovereign country's flag is the only one to feature a dragon?
be Bhutan.
Okay, what did you say, Ken?
I just went with Luxembourg.
Neil?
I had no idea. I went with Targaryen.
Fire and Blood, I believe, is the sigil of House Targaryen. Yes, and I very specifically wrote sovereign country because it can be argued whether or not Wales, which also has a dragon on the flag, is a sovereign nation. But the Himalayan country of Bhutan definitely is. Yellow and orange field, I believe, splits the difference on a diagonal with a white dragon.
That's exactly right.
You were a little worried about this last round there, Dan, and I think it's paying off for you.
Well, I got geography and flags, which are
yeah.
two big categories for me. So
Fair enough. And question 5, in currency. So what is the smallest circulated denomination that the U.S. has ever minted? Neil also tapping out on this one. Dan with 10 and Ken with 20. What'd you say, Ken?
I went with a halfpenny, which I believe is half a cent.
Dan, what was your thought on this one?
I also said a halfpenny.
And Neil?
I just said pence, just for my affinity for England, so that's all.
6 pence, none the richer. It would be the halfpenny, or half cent. So well done, guys. Both getting that run right and getting points on that. So when it went out of circulation in the, I believe, 1860s, it was worth more than today's nickel. So you can see why I don't like pennies. All right, tallying the scores up here. Ken's wagers drop him to a third place finish of 80. Neil betting nothing stays at 140. And this week's cream of the crop, adding another 80 points onto his score of 195, totaling 275, is Dan. Well done, Dan.
But the cream will rise to the top. Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you.
Great game.
Thanks, guys. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this. I love doing this stuff.
No, this was great. Yeah, we're going to have to invite you back to do a game of death. I think it would be fun when we have Matt here. Yeah, that was a tough one. That second round for me and Ken was pretty brutal.
Mm-hmm.
The swing round was great, Jeff, for obvious reasons, because they were all movies that I love. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I did well on that, and that's about it.
I felt kind of bad because everybody seemed to get basically there was one miss in the whole round, so I hope that wasn't too boring for everybody.
No, that's okay.
But yeah, it was fun for me to write them. So, and it was I'm hoping fun to play those too. So
Yeah, thanks again for joining us, Dan. We'll be sure to have you back on.
All right, yeah, I just want to give out a quick thanks and shout out to my teammates in the Sinister Six, our national Geek Bowl team that we're putting together. Phil Sanford, Mike Cameron, Jeffrey Seguritan, Wesley Wells, and Scott Barber. Y'all are the best teammates I could ever hope to have, so I'm looking forward to playing many more rounds with y'all.
That's quite a power team.
Very powerful team, and obviously the invitation is extended to all those guys. If you'd like to come on the show in any capacity, whether it's a regular game of death, or Laid On Me. I know we have Wesley Wells coming up for a Laid On Me. We had Jeffrey Seguritan on our Silicon Valley Laid On Me. So yeah, the invitation's open.
And if we end up doing the Trivia Bowl, I think we should be Team Spider-Man.
we have to, obviously, we got to stick with Pain Don't Hurt. That's our...
Oh, yeah, of course.
How about Smells Like Mary Jane?
I really like that one. So thanks again to our cream of the crop this week, Dan and Ken and Neil, for joining me. So if you'd like to play along with our contestants, make sure to check out our Facebook page or website. There we've got links to all the ways that you can get in touch with us and engage with us. You can also tweet at us at TrivialityPod. Or please send in your email question submissions to trivialitypodcast@gmail.com. Specifically, question 5 submissions, please make sure you put that in the line with the host you'd like to read it so that we can make sure to get that to the right person. Of course, you can spread the word by rating, reviewing, subscribing to Triviality on your favorite podcast app. And if you'd like to support the show directly, you can visit us at patreon.com/trivialitypodcast. We've got a lot of great incentives there for you guys. We do really appreciate it. We've been getting a lot of support lately, which has been really great, both in feedback and questions, and also with basically a doubling in the last month of our patron support. So we're very thankful for that, as that allows us to functionally do some better things here in the studio, like just have the equipment that we need. So thanks again. Until the next game, on behalf of Ken, Not Here Matt, Neil, myself and Dan. That was Triviality.
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man. Is he strong? Listen, bud.